The latest turd in my yard. This is a 1989 Jeep Wrangler YJ, not the XJ or the TJ or the BJ or whatever. It's got the 4.2 liter carbureted inline six, which is good, I think. I don't really know. It's got the 5-speed manual transmission, and the interior is a little bit on the moldy side, but you know, a little mold never killed nobody. It's got no brakes, definitely no clutch. Parking brake works, but doesn't stay. The engine doesn't run, so the gas pedal's no good. So we got 4 useless pedals down here, which is nice. We got the theft-proof radio. Ain't nobody getting that thing. No way. AC was a factory option, so this didn't have it because it's for pansies, of course. So you can blow some warm air on yourself, which you don't really need anyway, because all you gotta do is that right there. There you go. You'll stay nice and cool now. So the deal is, this was my neighbor's car, and in 2008, so this is Black Eyed Peas era, they ripped it apart with plans to restore it, and then just went, bah. And then 16 years later, I ended up with it. So yeah, 500 bucks. I think it's worth $500, probably, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know much about Jeeps. I know it's got the square headlights. I think people like those. I don't know. So supposedly it ran way back in 2008, but well, that was in 2008. This is 2024. It's weird seeing a Jeep without the rubber duckies on the dash and the angry headlights and the knobby tires that rub constantly, despite the fact they've never been off-roading in their lives.
Oh, it's just a Jeep thing. You wouldn't understand.
Explain then. Explain. Explain to me why. You don't know why. Explain. The air stays moist here in Virginia, and this thing literally has water in it, and it's just decided that it's not gonna rust. Mmm, yummy. Save those for later. So the person who took this apart was really well organized. They labeled all the bolts, so that makes things a little easier on me. Haven't even looked under here yet, so you know, there's oh, I see damage. This, oh, yes. See, that's supposed to be attached to the axle, and it is not, because if it was attached, I wouldn't be able to do this. So that's the Pennard bar, and it obviously needs to be welded back on. Got a box of tools in there. That's pretty good. Got a ratchet, some Torx bits. Aw, the 10 millimeters missing. Of course it is. Oh, nope. Here it is. Score. So it's supposed to rain all week, and this thing will actually fit in the shop, so. That drum looks like it'll totally come off and not be stuck forever. Anyway, so priority number 1 was fuel tank, but now that I found that this is no longer attached, that's now priority number 1. And someone who doesn't know how to weld already tried repairing it. They welded like a piece of round stock to it, and of course their weld broke, so that makes that a little bit more annoying to fix. I'm gonna have to clean it up a lot more and weld that back on, so yay. Got everything cleaned up. This was the previous repair. How did that not hold? I just can't believe it. Like it never even happened. So as for under the hood, there's really not a lot under here. This makes that Ford look like a spaceship. So there's really not any modifications in here. Everything's original, factory, which I like. There's a mechanical fuel pump, there's a distributor, there's a carburetor. I mean, apart from the massive amounts of hoses and vacuum lines going everywhere, this shouldn't be hard to get running. So I put some fluid in the reservoir and pumped the brakes just to see where it would leak out at. And yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, this line right here is totally gone. Yeah, I just... She don't hold fluid. Oh, my brake line. No. That is a humongous spider. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff in here I don't really know what it does. Like, what are these? I don't know. Supposedly, I was reading, and these carburetors are like partially computer controlled or something, and they always break. So I'm looking forward to that. So I took the plugs out, and apart from running really rich, it looks fine. Like, looks like they're all the same. So it was running mostly decent-ish when it was parked. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour something down those cylinders to lubricate them before I try to crank this thing over. I've got this like 10-year-old bottle of Rotella laying around. That ought to do it. Yeah, that was too much. It's on the ground now. I don't have a battery yet, but I do have this jump box, so we can at least do something with it. See if anything burns to the ground. That's always fun. Hey, headlights work. We got some electrical issues, imagine that. I mean, down here, you can tell a professional's been in here, especially with the wire nut. Yep, that's always good. So, yeah, I guess I'll just turn this thing. Ooh, all right, pressure. Oh, the pressure gauge doesn't work. That's not useful. Okay, turn the lights off, man. You're running my... Oh, no way. No way. Well, something works at least. All right, well, if it's gonna build pressure, it would have done it by then. I don't really do carburetors, especially not computer-controlled carburetors. That's a double nope. But here we are. That's a lot of vacuum lines. Anyway, so I got my drink here. I'm just gonna kind of, you know, put some of that in there. Maybe it'll start. Kind of a stretch, but you never know. All right, well, let's see what happens here. Ooh, this box may not have the ass to turn this thing over. I think I can, but you can't. Come on, come on. My little jump box just can't do it. I'll have to get it a battery. Found a battery. Just laying around. Can you believe that? Now do we have action? Let's see here. Ain't no way this thing's gonna start. Dude. Really? What? This thing actually runs. I didn't even do anything to it. Ugh. Smells good. Oh, man. I think that's what I poured in the cylinders. I advanced the timing a little bit, so we'll see what that does. So I was walking past this thing and saw that this passenger right wheel is looking that way bad, meaning something is bent, probably the axle. Yeah, I might have just welded that for no reason. I'm gonna spin this, and if it wobbles, that means it's not the actual rear end, which would be nice. Yeah, that axle shaft is without a doubt bent, so we'll get one of those. So I took the driver's seat out and it's not seating good no more. It's all flat. What the hell? Okay, got it an axle. No, it's not new. What do you think this is? Think I'm Jay Leno? Think this is Motor Trend? Got some rust here. I might look into repairing that later or not. Depends how I feel. Brakes are looking good though, so that's nice. Okay, so the new axle's not correct because why would it be? That would just be ridiculous. So this was advertised as passenger side, but it looks like it's driver's side because it otherwise fits apart from being too long. All right, well, that's like that for now. So I'm gonna turn my attention over to the brakes. Every single hard line on this entire thing is completely rotten. I shouldn't be able to pull that off. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace every single hard line on the whole thing because they're all totally gone. And that includes the clutch also. This is the original line, completely rotted out, full of holes. What's up with this? You can't get the clutch reservoir cap off. The stupid bar's in the way. It's a dumb design. Oh man. I don't have high hopes for this clutch system. Okay, so clutch master cylinder is busted. Not a big deal, I'll get it another one. What is a big deal though is the slave cylinder. So it's the stupid kind that's inside the bell housing. So if that's bad, I've got to pull the transmission, which I don't want to do because if I pull the transmission, I'm not just going to want to change that. I'm going to want to put a new clutch in it, a new rear main seal, a new transmission seal, and I don't want to do any of that. So hopefully that works. One of the nice things about running all new lines is you don't have to worry about a lot of these rusty connectors because you can just cut them off. We're replacing them anyway. Of all the colors you want your brake fluid to be,
That ain't one of them.
okay, so the front lines and hoses are on and sort of half lead. We'll press the pedal and see what, yeah, there's somewhat of a pedal now. I was a little concerned about those calipers, but they appear to work. So I'm not gonna ask any questions. If you look in the engine bay of a modern car, you'll see they've got their little clips to keep the wires just where they need to be and their little, you know, organization. Not in the 80s. There's just wires and hoses all over the place. I don't know what half of this stuff does. Look at this. There's like thousands of them. I don't know what they do, but I do know that most of them aren't necessary. They're just emissions garbage. I could remove half of this stuff and this engine would still run just fine, if not better. Okay, so rear lines, very rotten. Also, fuel tank vent line, same size and also rotten, so I'll change that while I'm in there too. So I saw the power steering fluid was empty, so I decided to put some in it. And it puked it all out. The lines are rotted through. Shocker. So I've just been coming in with my cheapo Harbor Freight flaring tool, replacing all the lines little by little, molecule by molecule. I ran new brake line all the way back here, round the axle, every single line brand new. So now as far as brakes, all I need is to get that replacement axle that fits and we'll be good. So I got a new clutch master. The original one is aluminum, but the replacement is iron. This isn't a race car, so I'm not worried about it, but it is quite a bit heavier. Okay, so it's gonna be the moment of truth whether or not this slave cylinder works. Hey, that feels clutchish. So this thing has grease zerks on all of its ball joints. Basically what you can do is come in here with a grease gun and re-grease all your joints, make them last longer. On a modern car, when this stuff goes bad, you just throw it in the trash and replace it. And that obviously makes maintenance more expensive. Manufacturers just can't be bothered to spend the extra 2 cents to put grease zerks on the fittings anymore. I like the extendo bracket they put on the brake booster. This is such a huge area taken up with just brakes. It's flimsy too. I can move this thing like a full inch. Mopar or no car. All right, I'd say the time is about nigh. Let's get this fuel tank in here. I already cleaned it out earlier. It's a plastic tank, so rust isn't an issue, which is pretty nice. So before I put that fuel tank in there, I'm gonna go ahead and blow through the fuel lines, make sure they're not clogged. Ooh. We just blew a bunch of crap out of that one. I also cleaned up the sending unit, so that's working now. So that can go back in the tank. Anybody home? So this thing won't go all the way up because it looks like the frame, the body or something's bent up here. We'll let it go all the way up. Yeah, that right there is what's stopping us. I have the special tool for that, thankfully. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with these government mandated fuel nozzles. These never work right. They always leak and they're designed to make you waste fuel. So what you do with this is throw it away, go on eBay, pay 10 bucks for a 3-pack of real nozzles. There you go. Problem solved. Supposedly those are like better for the environment or something, but that one's going to a landfill now. So explain to me how that's better for the environment. If you want something screwed up, just let the government do it. New fuel filter. I hate that everything is standard on this thing. All my tools are metric. All right, that was pretty easy. See if that new pump will pump anything. Yeah, I don't think we pumped any fuel. I'm actually out of fuel, so I'll have to get more of that. Only the most okay 87 octane for the Jeep. Well, at least it's running on 5 cylinders. The 6th one's just for passing anyway, it's not important. Still not pumping fuel. I've never messed with a mechanical fuel pump before. My first impression is that they suck. I made the mistake of leaving the battery plugged in last night, and it's completely dead now. So that's perfect. That's what I wanted. On purpose. So while that's charging, might as well start looking at some of the parts I got. So remanufactured distributor because the vacuum advanced nipple broke off on the original one. A blue distributor cap. That's how you know they're good. Plug wires. On Rock Auto, a lot of the time for old stuff like this, you get new old stock. This oil filter is from the year 1690. It's actually started to rust a little bit, so don't think I'll use that. These plugs have been sitting around since 2004. Those are probably still all right. So I'm just gonna basically start throwing parts at it. Hopefully it'll run on more than 5 cylinders. That's facing that way, yeah. I'll remember that, surely.
No.
Yep. All right, new distributor, plugs and wires installed. Got some more electrons in the battery. I'm gonna go back to seeing if I can make this fuel pump that doesn't pump, that's only job is to pump, but it doesn't pump to work. I'm a suck from what's supposed to be the return line. And if I get fuel from there, then that means they're crossed. Yep, the lines are crossed, the feed's on the return. Ow! Okay, that's fixed now. I'm gonna go ahead and put it all the way back together because I'm that confident. Pump fuel! Now there's the issue of why won't it idle? It's most likely a vacuum leak. Luckily, there's only, 50 million places there could be a vacuum leak, so not too bad. I mean, it could also be this carburetor clogged up. Very possible as well. All right, so the crankcase vent is broken. Somebody already plugged that with a valve stem. And down here is another broken line. This one is plugged with a golf tee. So that's probably OEM. You know, something I totally forgot about is ignition timing. Try playing with that a little bit. Hey! That must be... I don't know what that thing's about, but yeah. So looking down in the valve cover, it looks kind of dirty in there. This is an old boomer trick I learned. You can put ATF in the crankcase. First of all, you want to get it all over the top of the valve cover. Then you get it into the crankcase, and it's basically an engine flush. We're gonna run it for a little bit with that in there, then drain it out. Hopefully our temperature gauge works. Probably doesn't. The clock doesn't work either. That's a shame. That says we're not charging, so I don't know if we can believe that or not. We are not charging. Well, I let it run for a while, and I let it get up to about 215 degrees, and the thermostat never opened, so go ahead and add thermostat to the list. I'm also going ahead and drain that oil out. Got a fram on it. Yeah, it probably appreciates that. Right now, I'm basically just going through and replacing vacuum lines that look less than okay. Like that one, for example. I'm gonna go ahead and replace this thermostat right away. Like I was saying, I'm gonna replace this thermostat right away so I don't forget about it and overheat this thing. Yeah, that's all my coolant. What is going on here? They used friggin' ectoplasm to seal this thing. New thermostatulus. Hopefully that doesn't overheat now. I'm gonna spray this thing with degreaser every day for like a couple weeks. So hopefully when I finally rinse it off, it'll come out really clean. Axle is here. Finally. Off-road, on the street, at the track. Make up your mind. The retaining plate that holds this axle in is supposed to be flat, and that doesn't look flat to me. So I'm gonna hammer that back down. My confidence level is like 33%. It's not great. Baseball. Wiener dog. All right, expensive new axle. I couldn't find a used one that was cheaper than a new one, which kind of defeats the purpose. So went ahead and got a new one, so I guess I am Jay Leno after all. These things are like 35 years old now, and there's none left in junkyards. So you're pretty much stuck with eBay unless you're, you know a guy or whatever. So at this point you may be thinking, oh, this is the part where he puts on new brake hardware and shoes and turns the drums. No, I'm putting the old stuff back. I'm so glad drum brakes are pretty much extinct now. I'm gonna go ahead and change the wheel cylinder on this side because I think this one's been leaking. Just a thought, just a theory, just a hunch, just a... All right, I cleaned everything up real good. Wheel cylinder's in. Pads actually don't look bad. Went ahead and cleaned the drum up too, so. Air filter's going in. That's how confident I am. I wanna go for a short drive. I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the ignition timing and do some other little stuff. Power steering lines still haven't come in yet, so I'm just gonna cut this belt for now, so it's at least not screaming at us the whole time. Okay, so I have not tested if this transmission works at all yet. So, we'll see what's up with that. Battery still, oh, okay. Okay. I have a brake pedal. Reverse. 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 Ah, there we go. Oh yeah. Brakes, yeah. Okay. Hell yeah. Hey, not bad. I can feel those flat spots on the tires. That's always good. I have no idea if it's gonna overheat still. I just put that thermostat in. I'll have to check that in a minute. So, 4th gear. Nice. 5th gear. Nice. Behind me, we're smoking a little bit. It's blue oil smoke. So that's fine. Driving experience resembles a lawnmower more than a car. So our temperature is 193, 195, okay, well the thermostat has opened, but we're already at 203, 198, I don't know. We're not overheating yet, so it is smoking a lot. I will say that. That's fine. Oh, the temperature gauge started working, so according to that, we're not overheating. I don't trust it, but it says we're not. Ah. This thing runs really good. This is not the slowest thing I've ever driven, which is not much of an achievement, but it's something. So I'm replacing this power steering line that rusted through. You could change the alternator belts on this thing in 5 minutes flat. It is one bolt right there. If you're out stranded in the desert and the vultures are circling, you could change that no problem. So when I went for that drive, most of the gauges just kind of fixed themselves, except for the oil pressure gauge and the clock. How am I supposed to tell what time it is with no clock? It's a good thing half the screws are missing. Ooh. Okay, so I've been examining this thing for a while, and it looks like the oil pressure gauge circuit has shorted itself to the clock circuit. So I'm gonna cut this trace out and run a wire in its place and see if that starts working. If it's correct, that means we got like 55 PSI of oil pressure. So I'm just gonna supply power to this fuel gauge real quick and see if it even works. Nothing happened. Hello. Oh, okay, it got stuck a little bit, but it did work eventually. It's got power, but it's stuck at the bottom. You gotta help it along. I'm not really sure what to do about that apart from loosen up. Come on. Okay, so I keep having problems out of this thing. Stuff works and then doesn't work and then works again. The fuel gauge started working and then it quit. So I went through and cleaned and dielectric greased every connection on the thing, so hopefully this will just work now. Probably not. You'd think I'd be fixing something like, you know, the mold on the steering wheel or something more important, but no, we're fixing the clock. This is important to me. Okay, so hopefully when I plug this in, that clock will start working. Yeah, we got a clock. Yeah! Time well spent. Okay, so I unplugged and replugged the switch and the dimmer, and the light started working, so it was just dirty. So one more thing that doesn't work in here is the blower motor, and I didn't even see that. Ooh. Shit. So that blower motor, I just unplugged it and plugged it back in, cleaned the terminals, and that works now. So that's another thing fixed. The wiring on this thing is just fantastic. It's basically a SEMA build. This radio doesn't work, so since we're in here, I might as well investigate that.
What is this? What does this go to? It doesn't go to anything.
Okay, so a really cheapo way to get Bluetooth on an old radio are these FM transmitters. Basically, these just turn Bluetooth into an FM signal that the radio can understand. And I got this in a 3-pack for 12 bucks. Obviously, you can get nicer sounding ones than this, but on a little stereo like this with 2 little dinky speakers, I'm not gonna notice much of a difference. So Basically, I've soldered 2 wires to it so that I can hide it back behind the radio. Usually they go in the cigarette lighter, but that's really annoying because if you touch it, it stops working, and you hit a bump, it stops working, and if you breathe on it, it stops working. So I'm just gonna, you know, hide it. Okay, so now if I change it to the correct channel...
Nonsense be something you wish. Then drop on the deck and flop like a...
We got Bluetooth. So I'd like to get the interior back together on this thing, which brings me to the issue of this driver's seat that's gone limp on me. Like, it's not even a reclining seat. How does it break? There's no moving parts. Mopar or no car. So I found the issue with our seat, and yeah, that's not the best. They used really thin metal, and it just kind of broke after a while, so I'm gonna weld together what I can, and probably another piece of steel right here just to try to reinforce it as much as possible. Crooked. Ah! So I aligned it best I could and welded these plates on. Will it hold? I'm gonna go with sure. If someone that's too fat sits in it, that's on them. Next time have a salad. Luckily, I only burned a really big hole in it. So not only are the seats fragile, but also the bracket does that. Everything's tight, it's just like that. Mopar! I'm currently sanding the steering wheel, because it's got crud on it that won't come off any other way. Interior actually cleaned up pretty nice in this thing. I didn't bother putting in a carpet, because I didn't think it was necessary, because when you're in mud up to here, you'll be glad you don't have a carpet. So I leaned back really hard in this seat to test the durability, and it bent. So I took it out and welded it some more, and it's bent again. Why Chrysler? I understand that Chrysler was going through some rough times in the 80s, but there's stuff that's flimsy on this thing that just shouldn't be. The master cylinder shouldn't move that much. The seats shouldn't snap in half ever. They also shouldn't do that. The rear axle shafts are made out of paper mache. There's no rust prevention on the frame at all. I could go on, but I won't. But I could. I just put the messed up seat on the passenger side because screw the passenger, they're not important. Problem solved. Usually when one of the other big 3 manufacturers has a dumb design, it pisses me off because it's like, you know, what were they thinking? This is a stupid design. But when Chrysler makes a bad design, it's usually so weird or stupid, it's funny. It's like, Chrysler, why? Thing needs a what's it called, a bath. So I wet sanded the whole thing. I went and bought some extra heavy cut compound to see if I can get the rest of the oxidation off. I don't think you'll be seeing this thing at SEMA anytime soon, but it's at least presentable now. I mean, it looks a hell of a lot nicer. So back to the engine, it has a miss at idle and it doesn't like to start when it's cold. So it could be a couple things: carburetor, ignition, stuck rings, valves not sealing. So I'm gonna try the easy thing, which is run a can of seafoam through it. So see what that does. So I ran the thing out of gas, honest mistake. And I've been trying for like 20 minutes to try to make this thing pump fuel again. I poured gas down this line and sucked it from this line, and this stupid mechanical fuel pump just won't pump anymore. So I tried for a while longer and realized that this pump is leaking out of the bottom. So that's good. Yeah, they don't make them like they used to. Good! Same thing with carburetors. With fuel injection, there's always a rhyme or a reason. A sensor isn't working. There's a wire broken. Not carburetors.
Oh, my float's stuck. Yeah, my jet is clogged. My accelerator pump is broken. Take me apart. Rebuild me for the 3rd time this year.
So I'm just testing the original pump here, and yeah, it still works. All right, I think it's pumping. So the original pump is working. That's fine now. I had heard that aftermarket pumps sucked, but I didn't think much about it when I bought one. The question is though, where do I find a good one? Like, I don't think you can buy OEM anymore, so I guess if that one quits, I'm just gonna say forget it and put an electric one in. I'm just warming it up before I put the seat foam in it. Why can't you take all car doors off? It's easy. It's great. Yeah, I don't think that really did much for it. It didn't smoke much, which I'm pretty sure means that it's not that dirty inside. There's not much carbon on the pistons to burn, so anyway, it was worth a shot. So this engine isn't actually just carbureted. There's also a computer in there. There's an oxygen sensor and a stepper motor and some other stuff. So basically you get the worst of both worlds. You get the complexity of EFI with the finickiness of a carburetor. And that antiquated computer from the 80s has to somehow coexist with this carburetor to make the engine work okay-ish, which is gonna be difficult to make happen, but I'm gonna do something. Okay, so this was before the days of OBD2, meaning we don't have a scan tool, but I still need to read the engine codes to get some insight on this thing, hopefully, as to what the hell is wrong. So basically what you can do is flash test it. So you turn the key on a specific amount of times. This light will flash a specific amount of times, like Morse code, sorta, and tell you the engine code. So I'm gonna read those real quick. Okay, never mind. I've been here turning this key on and off over and over and over, trying to get this thing to tell me the codes, and it just won't do it. So I guess you can't do it on this one. So we're pretty much in the dark here as to what the hell is wrong. So I'm just gonna start messing around, I guess. That's all I can do. I think that this is gonna be the first thing I check. This is the EGR valve. Maybe it's stuck open. I have a feeling it might be. So if you don't know what this does, it basically just routes exhaust gases back into the intake. So I made this plate that will allegedly delete the EGR valve. Now, there's different schools of thought there. Some people say you can delete it and it's fine. Some people say not to, but I say it makes it more reliable if you do, because it can't break if it ain't there. Okay, so the second most likely thing I think is gonna fix our problem is rebuilding the carburetor. I got this kit for like 10 bucks, so remove yourself. Ow. What is going on in there? Looks like some kind of trypophobia nightmare. So I've got our carburetor tore down, and you know, it's got some crust, but it's not terrible. I've seen a lot worse, so I'll go ahead and clean all this and put gaskets in it and whatever else. I'm not really going for clean here, just clean-ish. All right, carburation machine rebuilt. Hopefully that does better, we'll see. I definitely wouldn't say it runs perfect, but it is an improvement. It still has that random sputter though. That's annoying. So I was doing some research on these systems, and apparently they're kind of garbage. A lot of people will just put an aftermarket carburetor on it and delete the computer altogether. So I'm just gonna chalk our issues up to being Chrysler's fault and leave it at that. I like how this thing has that emissions maintenance light, but it doesn't let you read engine codes. So it's basically saying something's wrong. Okay, what? I don't know. Like, what's the point? Got it a new preheater hose and intake hose. Will they make it run better? Probably not. Will they make it look better? I think so. Ooh, this trunk lid is gray. I'd rather it be black. That's black now. So the next problem I'm facing here is the hatch won't open. This just free spins and the mechanism is rusted stuck and broken. The nipple's just kind of stuck up in there. This isn't even removable, so yeah. All right, so my solution for this problem is to not fix it, because basically that shuts first and then the door shuts and that will hold it. So yeah, it's fine. All right, I put the latch mechanism on. So that shuts and that shuts. There we go. fixed. The last sort of mechanical thing I'm gonna change on this thing is the shocks, because the ones that are on it are, well, they're not working too good no more. A couple people have mentioned me, you know, you're sure to use cutting tools a lot when you work on cars. As soon as a replaceable bolt starts giving me grief, I just cut the stupid thing off, because I'd rather pay $2 for a new bolt than spend hours of my life trying to get the stupid thing out. Especially something like this that I'm replacing that's garbage anyway. Like, there's no point in getting it out without damaging it. Just cut the stupid thing off. Yeah, they work. So with something like this, there really is no finish line. I can fix and fix and fix and fix and fix it, and it's always gonna be a project no matter what. Is you gotta think old Ronnie Reagan was in office when this thing was new. So for better or for worse, there's one more of these out on the road now. You're welcome, I think. I've got the engine running as best I can with the systems that are on it, like that electric carburetors, kind of meh. These are solid engines, like really good. But that's kind of the story of every 80s American engine's life, is solid engine, but the systems that run it are complete garbage. I did some more research on this carburetor, and apparently it's called a Carter BBD, whatever that stands for, big I don't know. But for the system that's on it, I've got it running as best as I can. I've done pretty much everything I can do for it. If I'm being honest, I'm probably just gonna sell the thing. Unless people just really love the Jeep, gotta have more Jeep. Maybe we can put EFI on it or something, but until then, I'm done. So subscribe.